These are gonna be really simple recipes. I'm really excited for everything kind of summery and easy and not a ton of baking, thankfully. Happy Sunday, welcome back to another Sunday meal prep. I already did all of my grocery shopping because I only needed just a few random things. I really shopped from my pantry and my fridge and my freezer for this meal prep just because I had a lot of stuff on hand. I like to do that to save money and to make things easier and save space in my apartment. I will show everything that I got. I grabbed a couple of things at Whole Foods just because I had to go there anyway. I'll also show everything that I had on hand, so you'll have a complete list if you wanted to follow along and meal prep the same things at home that I'm meal prepping today. For breakfast, I'm going to do a cherry pie chia pudding. I'm on a chia pudding kick right now, and I also really love cherry pie flavored things, especially during the summer. I'm kind of merging those two and making cherry pie chia pudding. And we're gonna put some protein powder in it so it has protein and fiber. For lunches, I'm gonna do an Orzo salad. It's gonna be very summery. It's gonna have grilled or roasted zucchini and corn. I'm gonna do a basil vinaigrette to go all over that. I'm gonna put some Parmesan, or you can do nutritional yeast for dairy-free. And I'm gonna use the cassava Orzo that I really like from Jovial Foods for that one. And then for another lunch, I'm gonna be doing a sheet pan chicken thighs recipe. I'm also gonna put chickpeas on it, so it's gonna be really, really protein packed. There's gonna be cherry tomatoes. I'm gonna put some pesto on top of that when it's done. So that'll be like a sheet pan meal. If you wanted to follow it for a dinner, you could totally make it, but I'm gonna do it as part of my meal prep this week because I want that high protein meal prepped and ready for me in the fridge. And then the last thing that I'm gonna prep is Japanese sweet potatoes. I'm gonna roast those in the oven. I like to just have different vegetables on hand to pair with my meals. So I might pair it with a lunch, throw it on top of a grain bowl or a salad, or honestly just have it as a snack. So that's gonna be the Sunday meal prep for today. I don't think it's gonna take too much time because these are gonna be really simple recipes. It's gonna be a quick prep, and I'm really excited for everything kind of summery and easy and not a ton of baking, thankfully. So the ingredients that I got at Whole Foods, I spent just about $50. I got some boneless organic chicken thighs, a little pricier at Whole Foods, so that's why it was more like 50 bucks. Then I got 2 zucchini, which we're gonna use for that Orzo salad, as well as 3 ears of corn. You could use a grill, you can use a grill pan, you can roast in the oven, you can use a cast iron skillet. There's many options. Honestly, you could also do the vegetables raw, but I kind of like the idea of roasted for this. I got a lemon for that basil vinaigrette, Parmesan cheese to go on the Orzo salad as well, and I got some fresh basil. For the sheet pan, I also got 2 pints of cherry tomatoes. I got 4 Japanese sweet potatoes for the roasted Japanese sweet potatoes, and that was everything that I got at Whole Foods and the things that I already had on hand. For the chia pudding, we're gonna be using dried cherries, protein powder. You can use whatever kind of protein powder you like, but I do like this Ritual Essential Vanilla Protein, especially for a plant-based option. Also for the chia pudding, we're gonna use almond milk, maple syrup, chia seeds of course, and then cinnamon and a little bit of salt. And then also for the chia pudding, almond extract. I had this cassava Orzo on hand already. Again, it's from Jovial Foods. Really like this one. That's what we're gonna use for the salad. I actually also got the chickpeas at Whole Foods. We've got olive oil, red wine vinegar, black pepper, paprika, dried oregano, dried basil, and garlic powder. So let's just get right into it and let's start prepping. Okay, first recipe that we're gonna prep is that cherry pie chia pudding. And the ingredients are very simple. Obviously the main components of chia pudding are chia seeds and then milk. I'm using unsweetened vanilla almond milk. You could also use oat milk, which I think would actually be maybe even better for the chia pudding, but I'm just an almond milk girl. You can use regular milk, even use coconut milk, but you might get a little bit of a taste. And then the other components are protein powder. I like to always include protein in my chia pudding. I feel like a lot of recipes that I see don't include protein, and I just don't stay full if there's not protein in there. So I'll usually add Greek yogurt or protein powder, just makes it easy. But if you really didn't want to include protein powder, you can make this recipe without it, but maybe you want to pair it with some sort of other protein. Other ingredients are going to be dried cherries, almond extract, which honestly, don't skip the almond extract. It's great to have on hand if you don't have it already, but this is what gives it a little bit of like a cookie, crisp, pie type of flavor. I love almond extract, and the cinnamon is also gonna help with that too, along with salt. And then to add sweetness, just a little bit of maple syrup. So to start, I'm gonna mix the dry ingredients of the chia pudding, and then I'll just mix in the wet, which is the maple syrup, the extract, and the almond milk. If you're not subscribed and you're watching right now, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I have so many more videos coming up that I'm really excited about. I'm gonna be doing another edition of my grocery series, so you don't wanna miss any of that. So press subscribe now while you're watching, and thank you in advance. Okay, so let's make the chia pudding. So first I'm gonna do 2 tablespoons of chia seeds per container. I'm gonna make 4 servings. And if you prefer to mix everything in one bowl, you can also do that, and then multiply everything by 4. So it'd be a ½ cup of chia seeds. Next, I'm gonna do the protein powder, and I do about like 50 to 60 grams of protein powder between the 4 servings. It does depend on what protein powder you're using. So for me, that's gonna be about a ½ scoop of this vanilla ritual protein. Okay, now I'm gonna do about 2 tablespoons of these dried cherries in each container. Now I'm gonna do a ½ teaspoon of ground cinnamon in each one and a pinch of salt. So important thing with chia pudding is before you add the liquid and you have multiple dry ingredients, you really wanna give it a good stir because your chia seeds can clump together. If you give it that stir beforehand and then another good stir once the almond milk is mixed in, it's gonna prevent that clumping. A few might happen still, and you can prevent that by, once it's set in the fridge for a couple hours, just giving it a good mix and then putting it back, mix everything up, and you're not gonna get any like weird gooey clumps of chia seeds, which I know can happen. So now I'm just gonna mix up each one. It does smell kind of like cherry pie, honestly. And the protein powder helps a lot here flavor-wise. So even if you didn't want to add the additional maple syrup and you wanted to kind of cut the sugar a little bit, I don't think you really need it. I'm gonna kind of taste, and I'll leave notes on the recipe depending on what I think. So you want it to kind of look like this, just fully incorporated. You don't want the chia seeds to be separate from the protein powder and the cinnamon. You want it to all be one mixture. Now we're gonna add the wet ingredients, which is the maple syrup, the almond extract, and the almond milk. So in each one of these, we're gonna do a ½ cup of milk, we're gonna do a ½ tablespoon of maple syrup, and then we're gonna do a ½ teaspoon of almond extract in each one. We're just gonna mix this up. Try to prevent that clumping. Try to make sure all of the dry has been mixed with the wet. If you're using a glass jar like I am, you can kind of look on the bottom and ensure that it actually has been all mixed. And just a reminder, if you haven't watched these videos before, I include links to all of the recipes in the description. So if you're looking for the exact measurements, you don't need to just listen to what I'm saying here. You can get it in the recipe link. All right, now let's get the lids on these and we will put them in the fridge. Okay, next recipe is gonna be the Orzo pasta salad with the grilled zucchini and corn and the basil vinaigrette, which is gonna have a pesto base. You can decide if you wanna make the pesto yourself or if you just wanna get a store-bought pesto. Copley's also here, as always. But you can decide. I'm gonna make a pesto. It's easy and I like to, but you definitely don't need to. And it does save a little bit of money. So the ingredients that we're gonna use for this recipe are cassava orzo, lemon, corn. I got 3 ears of corn. I'm either going to use 2 or 3 and I'll reflect that in the recipe. And then I got 2 somewhat small zucchini, a block of Parmesan. I'm going to use somewhere between a ½ cup and 2/3 of a cup. Salt, pepper, olive oil, red wine vinegar. These are going to be for that dressing. And of course I got lots of basil. So I'm going to start off by just doing a little bit of veggie prep. I'm going to slice up the zucchini and get the corn ready. And then we're going to grill it up. And while I do that, I'm going to boil a pot of salted water for the orzo. So I'm gonna cut these into slices that are thin enough to just be able to get grilled on both sides. And then when I put them into the salad, I'm gonna dice them. Just like this. Okay, I got the grill pan heating up. I got this cast iron grill pan from Staub. But like I said, if you have a cast iron skillet, you can use that. If you want to roast in the oven instead, you can do that. And of course, if you have a grill, I would recommend using that. And I'm just tossing the zucchini in about a tablespoon of olive oil and seasoning with some salt. And then I'm just gonna toss to coat. Okay, once that grill pan feels hot, adding these. All right, let's see if these are ready now. Got some nice grill marks. All right, let's take these off and then I'll do the next batch. Also gonna throw on one of the corn cobs. I'll pick these off. Looks pretty good. And adding the rest of the corn. For gluten-free stuff, I always run it under cold water afterwards. That helps it not stick together, get weird. Okay, let's get this zucchini sliced up. And I'm just gonna cut it into small cubes because when I have a pasta salad, I like everything to be small. Nice and small. Take off the corn. And I'm just gonna cut it right off the cob. I never not make a mess when I do this. Okay, I actually just remembered that my team member Kate taught me this hack, so I'm gonna try to cut it. We're learning and growing here. All right. Oh, I like this, okay. And you can also use canned corn for this. I will measure it to find out the exact conversion, but I'm guessing it would be 2 cans. Okay, I'm making some pesto. And like I said, you definitely don't need to make your own pesto. I just have done it a lot at this point. Technically, you could just add all the ingredients for the vinaigrette, pesto being one of them, to a blender or a food processor. So I'm just gonna stream in oil. I have basil in here, I have nutritional yeast. You could do walnuts or pine nuts. I have garlic, salt, pepper, just the basics, and then some lemon juice. Okay, I love it. Okay, so I left a half cup of pesto in here, and I took the rest out because we're gonna use pesto for the sheet pan chicken. Now we're just gonna add the other ingredients for the vinaigrette, and it's very simple. It's just a 1/4 cup of red wine vinegar, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, which is the juice of like half a lemon. You could whisk it. I'm just gonna blend it one more time since I have it in here. Ooh, that's really good. I was kind of going for the sweet green pesto vinaigrette that they have, and I feel like it tastes just like it. So this is perfect. I think this is gonna be great for a pasta salad. All right, I've got all of my components prepped for the Orzo salad. I have the cooked Orzo, I have the grilled zucchini that I cut into cubes, the corn, and then I grated about 2/3 cup of Parmesan cheese. Then I have 1/3 cup of fresh basil leaves and this pesto vinaigrette that we just made. So let's add everything to the bowl and mix it all up, and that's it. For this one also, I'm gonna recommend that it's served chilled, but you also could heat it up. There's nothing that's gonna get weird from being heated up, so it's up to you. Okay, so we got the Orzo, zucchini, corn, basil. Ooh, it looks so pretty. These are just like the best summer colors. Now I'm gonna add the vinaigrette on top. I'm gonna do about half of this parm. It's giving like farmer's market. Just beautiful. Now I'm just gonna top with a little bit more parm. Oh, it looks so good. All right, let's give it a taste. That is truly so good. It's so summery, and I feel like you could add other grilled veggies too. Definitely summer squash, eggplant, which I've been getting in my CSA lately. Even roasted broccoli, carrots. Like I think so many things would be good in here because the big taste is that pesto vinaigrette. I'm gonna get this put away in a container, and then we will do the sweet potatoes. And you can add a protein on top if you'd like. Chickpeas, some shredded chicken, tofu. I honestly think pairing this with fish would be good, or shrimp. I feel like everything tastes good with pesto, so you can't really go wrong. All right, there we go. Okay, next, the Japanese sweet potatoes. I've already started peeling them. I just need to finish peeling, and then we're gonna cut into cubes, toss in some oil and spices, and then roast. Gonna be super quick, super easy. And I really, really love Japanese sweet potatoes more than I even like regular sweet potatoes. They're seriously my favorite. I find it to be even sweeter than the orange, you know, typical sweet potato. So tasty. Okay, all peeled, and now I'm gonna dice them up. So I want to cube it up, but I don't want the cubes to be too small because I do really like to get that soft inside of the sweet potato and then a little bit of a crispy outside. As far as reheating, I like to reheat in the oven or the air fryer to get that crisp back. Otherwise, it's still gonna taste good reheated like in the microwave, but it's just not gonna be as crispy. So it depends on if you really wanna get the crisp in there. Those all are about the same size, give or take. And I have my oven preheating right now to 400. Going in with about 2 tablespoons of avocado oil. Love the squeeze bottle, by the way. Teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of garlic powder, teaspoon of smoked paprika, my fave, and a little bit of black pepper, half teaspoon. Let's get this on a sheet pan. So sometimes I don't put parchment on the sheet pans because these ones have a really good non-stick, but I find that for something like potatoes, I kind of like how it comes out better when I still add the parchment. It's a little easier to get that crisp that I like. Okay, now I'm gonna bake this. I'm gonna start it at 20 and go from there. Okay, last recipe of today's meal prep. It's gonna be the sheet pan chicken thighs, and the main ingredient is boneless chicken thighs. I have 1.5 pounds of boneless chicken thighs. And then I have 2 cups of cherry tomatoes, 1 can of chickpeas that I'm just gonna drain and rinse. The rest of my pesto, this is 3/4 of a cup of pesto. We have salt, pepper, dried oregano, dried basil, garlic powder, and chili powder. And then the last thing is just some olive oil. Very, very simple sheet pan meal. It's meant to kind of just be like tossed onto the pan, bake for about 30 minutes, and that's it. And there's no veggie prep that we need to do, which is the best part. Just rinsing the chickpeas. You wanna keep rinsing until there's no more of these little bubbles. So we got our cherry tomatoes, chickpeas. I'm gonna toss that with 1 tablespoon of olive oil, half teaspoon of salt, about 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, a half teaspoon of garlic powder, half teaspoon of oregano, half teaspoon of basil, half teaspoon of chili powder. Then I'll do the same spices on the chicken. All right, let's mix that. Looks pretty. I'm just gonna add this to the pan. And then we're gonna coat the chicken. So in that same bowl, I'm adding my 1.5 pound chicken thighs, tablespoon of oil, and then those same spices. So we got our salt, garlic, oregano, basil, chili powder, and some black pepper. Now I'm just gonna mix that to coat. These are like my go-to spices, I feel like, just the basics. All right, now with these coated, we are just gonna add them to the pan. Okay, and then this is gonna go into the oven at 400. I'm starting it at 30 minutes and then I'll check on it. So it looks pretty. I feel like everything has been so colorful today. Sweet potatoes are done. All right, I let these cool down a little bit and I'm just gonna put them in a container, toss them in the fridge. I ended up doing about 40 minutes total. I like to get them nice and crisp, like you can see the crisp edges, and I cook it on the bottom rack to really get that crispiness. So pretty. All right, chicken is done and looking very good. I feel like we need a close up. I love when the tomatoes get like this, where they're soft and they're so sweet. And now we just need to add the pesto. And now I'm just gonna spoon the pesto all over everything, but if you're doing it for meal prep and you don't want the pesto on right away and you wanna add it at the end, you can definitely do that. Of course, if you're making this just as like a sheet pan dinner, which I think this would be so good for a sheet pan dinner, then you would just add it right on top. Okay, I just let this cool down a little bit and I'm just transferring everything to containers. I think I'm just gonna store the chicken separate. The chickpeas and the tomatoes alone with all these spices and the pesto, I think would be really good. You could also pair it with like eggs. I don't know why it's giving me that vibe. And then these are gonna go into the fridge. Okay, meal prep is done. I'm really happy with how everything turned out. I'm so excited to eat everything that I made, which, as I've said before, I think is the most important part of meal prep, and that's gonna make it so you actually eat what you made and you don't end up just getting takeout or grabbing something on your way home from work or whatever it is. So just to recap everything that we made, the cherry pie chia pudding, I did steal a taste of one already and I really like it. So happy with that one. I did the roasted sweet potatoes, which this isn't like a full recipe on my website, but I will include the directions of how I did it in the description. The Orzo pasta salad with corn and zucchini and the basil vinaigrette. And then the sheet pan chicken thighs with chickpeas and cherry tomatoes and pesto. It's gonna be cozy, but still summery. So I'm gonna put this stuff away, clean up, and another Sunday meal prep is done. Thank you so much for watching. And just a reminder to subscribe on YouTube, check out my other links in the description, join my newsletter, check out what I have going on Instagram, TikTok, all the different apps you can find me. And you can find me on Pinterest too. Thank you again for spending your time watching and seeing everything that I prepped. And if you make anything, leave me a comment and let me know how it is. Have a great week, you guys.